Time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Folks, so for 28 years, the Diocese of Scranton has been helping many people throughout the 120 parishes, maybe more 28 years ago. It's the Diocesan Annual Appeal. I'm very happy today to tell you that I'm at the Chancery Building here in Scranton with Bishop Joseph Bambera. This year, they're looking for $5.5 million. Now, where is that money going to go? How many people will help? And that's why the good bishop is here. Bishop, it's always nice to see you.
Sam, it's great to be here. Thank you for taking the time to come up and visit and to have this conversation.
Well, it's something that I feel is so needed. And I thought just talking about the annual appeal, and sometimes people don't really understand a lot that happens with the money. Let's go back to last year, okay? What was it, 5.3 or 5?
It was the same. It was the same goal, 5.5.
5.5, and you achieved it. In fact, you went over.
We did.
Okay,
5.6.
So the money that you, first of all, how do you establish the goal?
First of all, we look to need. We look to various programs that we might have relative to Catholic social services. We look to our needs relative to our Office of Parish Life and support for our parishes and parish life and ministry formation. We look to our schools and the needs that we have there and the funding that they depend upon. And so we kind of back the goal out of the various needs that we have relative to those areas that I talked about relative to Catholic communications and some clearly fixed needs that we have relative to clergy formation and care. And the goal comes from that. Okay,
so you established a goal. So last year, as I'm looking at the brochure, and for those of us who were in church when they showed the video and you saw all of the people respond, okay? Let's look at first of all, you don't have to be a Catholic to help the annual appeal.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and there's a reason I'm saying that, folks. Let's talk about the first area where you have Catholic social services and parish outreach. That in itself, I think some people hear what we do with that money. So tell us about that.
Catholic social services, let me begin right there. To our viewers in the greater Hazleton area, I had the great privilege of being in your community just a little over 2 weeks ago when we celebrated the 75th anniversary of Catholic Social Services in Hazleton. And you indicated to me that you were on that board at one point in your career, and a number of individuals have been incredibly supportive of Catholic social services. There you begin to see the church in action, and you begin to see probably the most vivid way in which we fulfill the mandate given to us by Jesus. All of the various aspects of the appeal flow from our mission as a church, whether it be the formation and care for priests and clergy, whether it be communications and how we proclaim the gospel message, Catholic education in our schools or in our parishes and the like. But it's Catholic social services that, quite frankly, has in many respects the greatest appeal to so many of our people. Why? Because it's rooted right in the gospel. We're judged on how we respond to our neighbor. Well, Lord, when did I see you hungry? Whenever you did it to the least of my brothers or sisters, you fed me, you gave me to drink, you cared for me. And Catholic social services allows us to literally live out what we preach and what we proclaim. You know, Pope Francis so often speaks about how important it is for us to give our faith a life. Don't simply talk about it, but put it into practice, put it into action. And for 75 years in Hazleton alone, Catholic Social Services has been doing outreach to the poor, to those who are struggling personally and individually, to a whole host of individuals who are in need and who are looking for a way forward.
And you know, until you see it, and I was there in Hazleton many times, and I've seen people come in. These are people that need something. They're not greedy. They're not greedy. They need something. And I often thought what would happen if there wasn't a Catholic social service? What would that family do? What would that? And sometimes hardships happen.
Sure.
And God knows it could happen to anybody, as you know, Bishop. But when I saw the emotions and the humbleness of the thank you for whether it be a clothes or whether it be some food, canned food or whatever, it just it makes you feel good that you did something, that you helped somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah, ironically, and I wish that you had a camera to follow me, as I walked in to the Chancery just not a half hour ago for this interview, I was stopped on the steps of the Chancery by a woman who has had some difficulty with her rent, and she was evicted. And I was able to tell her, get in touch with Catholic Social Services. Gave her the address, gave her the contact information, and that's where she's going right now. They'll be able to offer her some sort of help. And if not specific types of help, they'll be able to give her some sort of direction where maybe some other agency can be of support. And certainly if there's a need and she's hungry and she needs shelter tonight, they'll be able to provide that too.
And that's the wonderful thing about the appeal, and here again, you give a certain percentage, and I would not want to be on that team to decide who gets what percentage, because when you look at, well, they should get more, but then as we go on the show here and you'll talk about other areas, the appeal is so very important, and I think that's why every year you go over your goal, and you can pay this over a period of time, folks. There's not one lump sum. We'll talk about that a little later on the show. So with the food kitchen, okay, we have Vincent de Paul, right? Okay, tell me about that.
Well, we have two food pantries, kitchens that we directly subsidize, and then a third that we support. St. Vincent de Paul's kitchen in Wilkes-Barre. We have St. Francis of Assisi kitchen here in Scranton, and then we have a kitchen in the greater Williamsport area that we help to support. And essentially what you have there are people from all walks of life and all religious backgrounds and no background of religion at all coming in, and no questions asked, no litmus test, nothing that would prevent them from walking through that line. All they need to do is say that they're hungry, and here's a tray, and you're welcome to have something to eat. To me, I am proud of so many aspects of this diocese. I'm proud of the incredible work that so many individuals do in so many different capacities relative to the mission of our church. But for me, when I know that somebody can be fed, when I know that somebody can have a roof over their head when the weather is inclement, and even when it's not, I feel like we're doing the work that Jesus has called us to do.
And I think this is only part of it. But he says, we are best, the church, when each one of us uses our gifts and talents to build up one another. I think there are so many people that I know. I had Sister Sponsa on my show many years ago, and she is a sister nun in Africa who, if a child's deformed, they just get rid of them. She collects them, etc. And she wasn't asking for a lot of money. She would just send, if you could help me out, I would appreciate it. And Dr. Bucci asked me to have her come on, which we did. There was a person in the audience, or viewership, who gave her $10,000. Mm-hmm. And the person said, I always wanted to do something, but I wanted to do it so I know some good would come from it. The annual appeal is dead on with that.
Yeah, Sam, I want to just say to you, and this is not to inflate anybody, or I'm so grateful that you're willing to approach this appeal the way in which you do so often. The Catholic Church, for as much as we at times take it on the chin for mistakes that have been made, for actions that are less than noble, we are made up of human beings from the top down, and I certainly include myself in the midst of that more than most people. We are responsible for more good than people will ever imagine. The largest social service organization is Catholic Relief Services worldwide. More monies come through the church than any other organization. And it's gratifying to me to recognize that individuals like yourself are willing to acknowledge that. Are we perfect? No. No, nobody is. And I'll be the first to admit that. But do we live out the gospel mandate? We try to. And so often people will say, oh, the church is only focused upon money, another $5.5 million campaign. But you just read something from our brochure. We're best the church when we give of the gifts that we've been given, when we give back of our time, our talent, our treasure. Some people have incredible treasure in this world, and they can give, and they want to give, and they do. Look at the economy that we have. It's still not back to where it should be over the past 4, 5, 6 years, and yet we've made the appeal in the Diocese of Scranton, certainly since I've been bishop, and for many, many years before that. And yet, it's just not resources that are financial that we look for. Sure we do. We need those to pay individuals, to support programming, to feed people. But where would we be if all we asked for was money? Every one of us has been given gifts and talents by God. Individuals who can give of their time to do activities around a parish, individuals who can give of their incredible talents that fill our churches with opportunities.
Here's another byproduct. You know, we had, when I did the show, we didn't do it last year, but the year before, the person who could not give, I think they gave about $500 and they gave $100 over each month, which was great. I mean, but the person went to one of these food kitchens and wanted to volunteer. And she said, I happened to see a person there that I hadn't spoken to in a long time, because we had some differences. And as we were working together, I found that this person was just as giving as I was. And I was able to regain a friendship with a person that were doing the same cause. So I mean, there's so many good things that happen.
It's incredible. Yeah. No, let me tell you a story. And I share this story often at confirmations. When I celebrate confirmation, I'll have one in a few hours from our conversation right now. And it's a true story that I experienced when I was a pastor before I was appointed bishop, in my assignment right before I became bishop. I got a phone call from a young man in his 30s. Good job, wonderful wife, 3 beautiful kids, nice home. And he said he wanted to see me and he wanted to talk to me about something. And immediately your thoughts always go to, wonder what the problem is here. I wonder what's going on here. I hope there's not a problem with a marriage. I hope somebody's not sick. I hope that there's not a problem with a job. This young man came to me and he said, Father, he said, here's my problem. I've been so blessed by God. I need to give back, and I don't know what to do. Can you help me out?
Wow.
That doesn't happen that often.
Wow.
But that's one story, one experience I will never forget. And after we went back and forth on opportunities that he could fulfill, it was his idea to start a food pantry in that parish community. Wow. It's been there for 6 years, and hundreds of families get food every 2 weeks from that community.
And isn't that beautiful? You know,
because somebody was willing not just to share a dollar and a cent, but time and talent and a dream for the mission of the church.
And how blessed so many people are, okay? And that's why I said that they want to be able to do something good. I'm talking to Bishop Bambera, folks, about the annual appeal, $5.5 million. But let me tell you something. I remember many years ago it said to me, how come you have to give money in these envelopes? Why do we have to give to the church? And I happened to look at my envelope and it said something. It says, when God stops giving to you, then you stop giving to God. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, you can watch any of the Sam Lesante shows on ssptv.com. My email is sam@ssptv.com. I'm here in Scranton, in the Diocese, Scranton Diocese, with Bishop Joseph Bambera. And we're talking about the annual appeal. And if you just tuned in, I highly suggest that you take a look at the first part of our show, because we talk about some very interesting things about this annual appeal. The Scranton Diocese is looking for $5.5 million, but it's, believe me, they could use $10 million. We talked about the Catholic social services and all the good deals. Now we move into other areas, Catholic education in schools and parishes.
That's clearly a very important part of our mission, whether it be the education of our children in our Catholic schools, Holy Family Academy being one of our 20 schools, or in our parish communities. Admittedly, we value our Catholic schools incredibly so, and I'm very, very proud of Holy Family Academy in all of our schools. Most of our children are actually educated in our parish education, Catholic education programs that they experience midweek and very often on a Sunday morning, Sunday school. It's absolutely vital to us that we impart who we are, not just to upcoming generations, but that we share that educational experience and our knowledge of the faith with people of all ages. We have what we refer to as lifelong faith formation that we promote here in our diocese and in our parish communities. Very often people will think, well, faith formation takes place when you're a child, it ends with confirmation, put the books on the shelf, and then go forward. To a certain extent, we may cease a lot of the formal education that would be associated with grade school and high school. But we have an obligation to learn and to understand about our faith all throughout our lives. And this support to the Diocesan Appeal helps us do that. It's not so much that the teachings of our church change. We forget. Sometimes we need to finely tune our understanding. And our world around us is constantly changing. So how do we bring our understanding of the faith to the workplace, to our experience in the community, to a school? Thankfully, we have our Catholic schools and our parish programs that help us do that.
So let me ask you this, okay? When you were pastor at St. John Bosco,
right,
and you were my pastor, okay? You looked at, as a pastor, you look at Catholic education a certain way, okay? Because, certain parishes have to contribute to it. Now, as bishop, okay, and you see and maybe it's the same, I'm not sure. I just want to see how the bishop looks at Catholic education across the board versus a pastor. Are they similar? I don't know.
You look at the bigger picture simply because my vantage point here provides me with the opportunity to do that. Instead of looking at one parish, St. John Bosco Parish, I look at 120 others. But in many respects, you still look at it the same way.
Okay.
You still have to have in place opportunities for children to learn. You still need to have teachers who are capable of passing on the faith. Individuals who are not only offering some insights into the theology that we're trying to teach, or in our Catholic schools, a whole curriculum that we impart, but also how you weave into that teaching the values of our faith, and that's the key part.
So you saw it much more magnified,
sure,
okay, which is confirm what you were doing as a pastor.
That's right.
All right, now, we need priests. We need priests. We need priests. And I pray for the bishops and the Pope and the priest all the time. Because if anyone needs prayers in this world, in my opinion, the Pope, the bishops, and the priests, they need all the prayers they can get. With that being said, part of this annual appeal is to help with the clergy, and tell our viewers about that aspect.
Well, a good portion of our appeal funds go to support clergy care and clergy formation. Clergy care is to support those men who have served for many years, and I would go on to say that most of our priests who are retired continue to help our parishes, and sometimes probably just as energetically and with just as much time commitment as they had when they were full-time pastors and when they were actively involved in ministry. I don't know where we'd be without our retired priests, and this is to care for them as the years unfold. It's also to provide us with priests for the future. And so it takes care of the formation of our men in seminary. And we certainly are in need of more and more young men, older men as well, who are willing to open themselves up to the presence of God, to consider whether or not they're being called to a special relationship with God as a priest or as a deacon. And we certainly are thrilled with the response that we have been receiving through our vocations office.
I had the pleasure, when I interviewed former Bishop Timlin, he's in Dunmore, right? And my son and I went there, and I've seen Father Boogaloo, some priests that, were our and I've seen a lot of these priests. Some of them have since passed, but I sat at the table with Bishop Timlin, and I look at these priests, and they're so still involved in their faith, and how many thousands of lives that they affected when they were when their parishes, etc. And only if the people in these parishes was able to see these priests and a meager breakfast, a lunch, and they don't, believe me, live the life of Riley, and they're so humble. They say Mass every day, still willing to help, still willing to help.
Absolutely.
Which I just think it's just like, sometime when you were a pastor and you renewed our vows, Debbie and I, 25 years old. I mean, that was very important to me, and then you're doing hundreds of those, okay? But the point, when you were a pastor, I couldn't get him to do the 40th anniversary. I want you to know that, folks. But he said 50th. I'm going to hold him to that. Okay. But it was you touch so many hearts, and here's an opportunity for us to say, let's give something, even if it's to help, the retired priest. Okay?
You have no idea how committed these men are, and how much we depend upon them.
Yeah.
Not certainly when they were pastors of parishes, but now in their retirement, we just as clearly depend upon them and are grateful for their ministry.
And they're so happy. They're still full of fun, Bishop. Now let me talk about the Catholic education, okay, and the communications. A little bit about that, how this helps get the word out.
Well, as you know every bit as well as I, communications has evolved over the years. When the appeal started, we had Catholic Light and we had Catholic Television, which had just gotten off the ground a few years prior to the first annual appeal. Today, we still have Catholic Television, we have the Catholic Light, we have a diocesan website, and we have a Facebook. We have all sorts of opportunities that allow us to stay connected to the world around us. I consider myself, much to my dismay at times, something of a communications dinosaur, as I can do emails and text messages, but there's a limit to my capacity. But indeed, the heart of evangelization is the proclamation of the good news. And Pope Francis will tell us, and we all concur, that we have to use every available means that we have at our disposal to proclaim the good news of Jesus. That's what it means to be an active, vital disciple of the Lord. That's what it means to be a fully committed Christian, to be evangelizers, to proclaim the good news.
So, folks, I'm talking to Bishop Bambera. It's $5.5 million, and believe me, they could use double that. And it's a very great thing to do. It's in your various parishes, or you always go to their website. And if you want to donate, and folks, you don't have to be a Catholic. If you feel that you want to help people eat, shelter them, or whatever the case may be, it's available to you. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Sam Lesante Show, folks. I'm here in the Chancery Building, the office of the Good Bishop Joseph Bambera, and we're talking about the annual appeal. Folks, it's very important. It's an appeal. You don't have to give a lump sum, correct? I mean, how you break it over a certain amount of.
People can do whatever they want. They can pay. They can offer a gift in terms of a lump sum. They can spread it out over the course of the year. They can put it on their credit cards. We'll make accommodations for whatever people are willing and able to give.
I didn't know that you could put it on credit cards as well.
Sure,
sure, because. See, now that's something I may think about, because I take advantage of the mileage.
There you go.
I get to get the flights.
There you go.
Folks.
You can probably double your gift this year.
There you go. You're talking to Father Lambert now, right? Okay. Just again, a briefing, Bishop, as to all the good things that this annual appeal does. You can't thank enough people that work on this project, believe me. But just a review as to why someone should, I know it's redundant, but why they should help with the annual appeal.
We call it an appeal. We are looking for the financial support of our friends, of our parishioners, and of our neighbors and the like. But really, as you articulated so well during the course of our time together today, it really is in many respects a mission statement. This is who we are as a church. We proclaim the good news, and we look to every means available to us to preach Jesus, whether it be from a pulpit, whether it be through the media, whether it be through the schools and educational opportunities that we have with our young people and people of all ages. Our Catholic Social Services gives us the opportunity to live the gospel. When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I needed shelter, you provided that for me. calling forth the gifts of individuals who feel in some way that they're being asked by God to serve the church in a special way, whether it be through the faith formation that we provide and ministry formation that we provide through our Office of Parish Life that enables individuals in your parish and 120 others to recognize their talents and to share them and to use them to build up a local community. Whether it's a young man or an older man, for that matter, responding to a call to be a priest or a deacon, in whatever way we can, we're called to proclaim the gospel. And the appeal is really a wonderful, wonderful means for us to look at what the church is doing day in and day out. Yes, through the care of so many who share of their financial support, and certainly through the lives of people of faith who share of their treasures, their time, and their talents.
Well, Bishop, I wish you the best of success, and I hope you go over your quota, your goal for 5.5. And once again, it's always a pleasure sitting down with my former pastor and now the Bishop of Scranton. We're very proud of you.
Thanks for taking the time. You're a good friend. We appreciate your time.
Bishop Joseph Bambera. Folks, all I can tell you is you don't have to give a lot. Whatever you have, give something. But I'll tell you what, you'll feel good when you do, because you're going to help so many people, as the good bishop just told you during the show. Remember, 24/7, you can watch all of our shows. My email, sam@ssptv.com. We'll see you next time.